start our meeting today, we're going to have an invocation and the pledge. And we'll start that, and our pledge is going to be led by Jane, and our invocation by Reverend Eric Hawkins.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please bow with me. Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us to another year. We need your guidance in 2015 as much as we did in 2014. So we seek your face. Thank you for healing our land. Thank you, God, for bringing things together into conformity and unity, that we may be able to live in Connersville community as a blessed people. Bless this committee today as they are about the endeavors of our city. In the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Eric, very much.
Call the meeting of the Board of Works and Public Safety together for January the 5th, 2015. Welcome everybody that's here today. We appreciate you coming. We got a pretty good agenda, so we'll try to sit through it pretty easy. First order of business will be roll call.
Jane Oakley, present. Fran Scholmel.
Present.
Leonard Urban.
Present.
Mike Bishop.
Present.
Ron Coldiron.
Present. Let the record show that we have all members of the Board of Works present. We have a quorum and we can do business. Ask everybody to be sure that your cell phones are either on silent or vibrate or something so it doesn't disturb the meeting, if you would please. And the first order of business will be to have the reading of the minutes of the December 5th meeting and December 30th special meeting.
I move we approve the minutes for the regular meeting on December 15th and the special meeting on December 30th.
I'll
As they've been
second that.
presented.
A motion and a second that we approve the minutes of December 15th and December 30th as they were sent out to the people. Are there any additions or corrections?
No, sir.
None appearing, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. We have,
We're not ready to do this.
okay, Joyce is not going to be here today. Okay, that's easy then. We'll table the bids
first one.
with Joyce McCarty.
Star Development.
That's okay with the board?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
No, that's more just asking.
Yeah, we'll take her first. Karen? Karen? Karen Isaacs, called right up here. I didn't get her on the agenda because she called after the agendas were printed because of New Year's. And Karen wants permission to do a boot drive. You tell them what it is.
It's the Climb Addictions Recovery and Rehabilitation Center that we've just opened a few months ago, actually in Connersville. We have a building that was just donated to us by Daryl Maines and his brother, and we've moved into it. It's donated to us to operate out of there. And what we do, we're a major resource center for anyone trying to get into recovery or needing a place to go where they can recover. That's either out of town or out of state, actually. And we have those things available, that information. Actually can make the phone calls, the arrangements, and things like that to get them in there. We can do minor drug screening. We have partnered with Fayette Regional Hospital. They have let us have their training and educational facilities where we're doing Smart Recovery, which is a non-faith-based program. However, we do not tell people not to be a part of any faith-based thing they want to do. It's just not an AA 12-step approach. It's totally different. But we are currently having those meetings at the hospital for 3 days a week, and we're busy there. And we are in the process now of expanding into friends and family. That's already kicked off. It's like Al-Anon used to be, but on a broader scale. I do the presentation with the corrections system on the 8th, and there is a big piece that goes into the corrections system. So far, Jenna Turner is sending people from the corrections departments to us. We can do counseling up to a certain point, and then what we do after we've done the intake, after we did consulting is what we mainly do. After we've done the consulting to a certain point, then we refer on to Fayette Regional Hospital, Whitewater Valley Care Pavilion, or to Centerstone, or to Meridian, wherever their choice is, if they would like to go to a licensed therapist or a licensed counselor. We do have a person on staff. My vice president actually is becoming, she will be in LAC in about a year, licensed addicted counselor, so good to have her there. And I have a medical assistant. We're pretty well staffed. We have a person from the Children's Bureau. So we have a lot of bases covered where we're actually working with people, and we stay pretty busy. We started out with 14 clients, and now the phone rings every day constantly with people wanting help, and we have phones manned 24 hours. So we're looking for getting a boot drive to start gathering donations so that we can operate and give this service to the community. And we have talked to, where we're invited by the Whitewater Valley Pavilion to be able to send youth there and people that can head there, you know, that we don't have an LAC for that particular group, the youth part. And then we can send those to Holly Dunn with her group at the Havens. So, and we can send women to the House of Ruth or wherever they want to choose to go. We have a lot of resources available where we're actually doing that. We work with Fuzzy Lake, the police department, Dennis Perkins, a lot. And so we have a lot of community connections as of right now, and that's making it work.
You did not tell me what days you wanted to do this.
I didn't know how the dates were actually given, so I thought.
In 2015, it's all available.
It's all
Nobody has booked
available?
anything.
I see.
So
Okay.
you can tell me what you want and we'll take it.
Okay. It would be the first Saturday, Friday or Saturday, however you do it. I don't know if you do it one day or 2 days, how it's actually
It's up to
works.
you.
It doesn't matter. Okay, the first
Usually
Friday.
do it on a Saturday, we don't do it
Okay.
on Sunday.
Okay.
Do we?
No.
I think we
Oh,
do.
but sometimes they do like Friday.
Friday night.
Friday,
Friday evening.
yeah,
How
Friday.
about the first Friday in February?
Okay, anybody got a calendar with it? We can tell me what that is?
Be the 7th, I think.
Okay.
Just a minute, Carol.
It might be the 6th, I'm not sure. Is
Is it
Jane's
6th or
looking at it.
Monday the 1st?
No, Sunday's the 1st, it's
First,
Friday's the
okay.
7th, yeah. Or Saturday the 7th. Sorry.
Saturday, February 7th then?
That's fine.
So we're doing Saturday instead of Friday?
Saturday's fine. Either or, it would have worked either way.
Saturday is the
Give more
7th,
time.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Give more
They
time.
usually do it over by the fire station. and
Okay, the
then-
one over on,
And then here on Central.
okay, sounds
The
good.
Grand Avenue's tore up.
Right.
So it's better to do those two.
That'd be
And
fine.
then Job's not here, but you need to go over to the street department and he'll give you the equipment
Okay.
that you have, and you have to wear a vest.
Right.
And,
Orange or green.
and we don't want children out in the intersection, it has to be
Yeah,
adults.
that's true.
Okay.
That's true. Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay,
you.
with that,
Thank you.
Board, what's your pleasure?
Make a motion to approve the boot drive for the drug rehab center. I'm sorry, I missed the name of the drug rehab center.
The company, it's
Yeah.
the Climb Addictions and Recovery Center.
Climb?
The Climb.
Are you a 501c3 or are you
We've
under
just gotten our
somebody?
paperwork done for everything. We've had our EIN, but now we've got the whole thing, waiting for the state to send us back the rest of the stuff, probably get it back in about 5 days.
So you're your own individual group?
Yes, we started our own.
I didn't know if you were under somebody or what.
No, we thought about doing that, and I thought, well, what the heck, if we're gonna do this, and it looks like it's gonna be, because it got so busy, and it has been so busy, and things keep getting added, it's time just to do it myself, so we did it that way.
We have a motion
I'll
and a
second
second.
that,
Any
John.
further discussion about it? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Gary, you got it.
Thank you.
So if
Thank
you
you.
see David Jobo at Street
David Jo-
Department, when,
okay,
you know,
Thank you.
call him and he'll tell you when to come and pick the stuff
Will
up.
do.
Thank you.
Thanks, have a great day.
Okay, we have an annual agreement with the fire department.
It's the service agreement for our compressed air for SCBA's. Needs to be signed, it's in there. It's $1,140. They come down and they do the maintenance on our compressor twice a year, and then take air samples throughout the year and change the filters twice a year.
It's the same price as it was last year.
Yeah.
Pro Air agreement with the fire department for 2015.
I'll second.
It's 1,140. right?
He said, yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, same as last year.
Any discussion?
We need this.
We got it. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On the same note, we have the Keystone software system for the clerk treasurer's office is next on the agenda. The invoice is $7,410. How come you can't do yours for $1,000?
I wish we could,
Okay.
but I wouldn't want to do it without them.
And this is a year at a time too, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And that is a slight increase over last year. I looked it up. It's up about $300.
I move that we accept this offer for $7,410 to Keystone Software to update our software for clerk treasurer's office.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second that we authorize the annual payment to Keystone for the software for clerk treasurer. Any discussion? Any? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. I think I'm going to break in here. Instead of going to departments, I'm going to go ahead and do the fire department grievances. I believe we have 3.
Well, the original four.
That's 4.
Well, 1 was resolved.
Got 2 drops off.
You just have 2 or 3?
I got 4.
We got 4 in our packets, I thought we had 2.
Scott Jones, President of Firefighters. I thought we only had 1 left because I thought we had resolved the rest.
And we can't actually resolve them
Well-
in an executive session, so
Just have to-
if you just name them.
Right, well,
We'll resolve them.
evidently the 2 that we have left, one was the failure to pay several guys overtime that were forced to stay. I wasn't aware, when we met last, I was under the impression that you'd ordered the chief to pay those guys. Evidently not, so.
They weren't paid.
I don't believe so.
Chief, you want to come forward and tell me why we didn't pay them?
We talked about so much, I was confused whether or not we was paying that or not.
Okay, if I understand it, you asked firemen to stay over 2 days in a row,
Yeah,
2 shifts.
yeah.
Okay, the contract says that if they stay the second shift, they get time and a half for the second shift, is that right?
Yes. We
That's-
didn't violate the federal law, but we violated
I-
the contract.
Okay. I said there would be no overtime. That's not overtime, that's time worked. They were actually in the station the second day, right?
Yes.
So they worked 48 hours straight without any extra pay.
And the contract calls for them to get, is that right, Mr. Baker?
Yeah,
Time and a
that's-
half for the second shift?
Yeah, they were given compensable time, I think.
Some of them.
They were given, basically, they were forced to work 48 straight, and then given the following, he made them take the following duty day off, which allows him to do that by not breaking federal law.
Yeah.
But that doesn't give them time and a half back, that just gives them time back. So all those guys are still entitled to 12 hours of straight pay for each day they were forced, which might have
Okay,
been
that's
10
the grievance right there.
Might have been 10 or 12 guys, I think.
You all understand it?
Yes.
I thought it was
We
7.
discussed it.
Well, I thought it was settled too, but
My
We
bad.
just do motions for each of these?
Yep.
I move that, we don't have these grievances numbered, but on the one on the overtime, at least I don't have them numbered. I move that we pay the 12 hours for the firefighters that are eligible for that, for those specific days that were listed.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. We pay 12 hours. That would be the halftime that was due them on the second day they worked.
it should be straight time, not time and a half.
Right,
That's
for
straight
12
time,
hours.
12 hours.
I have the figures if you want it.
Okay. You want to read those into the minutes here? Because, is that everybody or,
No, just those that he
Just the
asked.
ones that were forced.
How many? 12 people?
It
No, no,
was-
no.
It was 13 days total. It was firefighter Simpkins, $191.04. Firefighter
can you
Adams.
give that list to the clerk treasurer when
Yeah.
we're done? Or do you have a copy?
Yeah,
We can make a copy
give
of
it
it.
to all of you.
That's good.
on the second page.
In our package on this.
Oh, yes.
That's what I thought.
Second page, right? You still need me to read it? Leonard?
Well, there's, I don't see that many. So you got Simpkins, Adams, Rowe, Stevens.
Yeah, I just broke down the total amount. I didn't break it down by day.
They each had several days,
Yeah.
because they were the low man, seniority man, so they were the ones forced to stay. So you can see the difference in the totals there. because
So the
there's-
total is $2,182.92.
Yeah,
That's what we owe, correct?
yeah.
Total.
Okay, the motion was that we pay this overtime. I'm not calling it overtime because it wasn't overtime.
Time
It was
of-
It's straight time for 12 hours.
because they worked 2 shifts in a row. Okay. Any further discussion? Have a roll call.
Yeah, I'd like to bring something up here.
All right.
You didn't have a second, I don't think.
I thought we had a
Might be
second.
on my side.
Yes.
But I'm sorry, but Ron wanted to speak, so.
Scott, the grievance mentions specifically overtime.
Right, well.
Can you read to me in your contract, Article 15.3, what describes overtime?
I don't have it in front of me.
You want me to read it to you?
If you want, you can.
Each firefighter working between 159 and 168 hours in the 21-day work period. Are they working over 159 hours in a 21-day work period?
The chief could answer that question, chief. They were not.
You know, I'm not, it's not a money issue. If I vote for this grievance the way that it's written, you're asking me to breach your own contract?
Do what, I'm sorry.
If I vote for this grievance, to pay this grievance as it's written, you're asking me to you're asking this board to breach your own contract. If
The-
paragraph 15.3 is overtime, is considered anything after 159 hours.
Right, right. The work week, our work week is laid out as,
Understand.
right, in
Understand.
another article. And anything worked above the hours in the work week is paid at time and a half, and always has been.
But the grievance specifically
Right.
says overtime.
Right, well, the reason it says overtime is because those guys were forced to stay that day. But then the reason we changed it to straight time was because they'd actually, in order to not break federal law,
Okay.
he gave them, that made them take that following day off.
I
So they didn't
understand.
get time and a half, they only got time
I
back.
understand.
Right.
We're looking at the grievance as it's written. We're not going to change
Right.
the goalpost here.
Right,
Okay. So,
right. So technically, they still have 12 hours of straight time coming to them.
but the grievance particularly says overtime.
Because anything outside the shift is time and a half.
Right.
Anything, continuation of shift, the contractor affords overtime at time and a half. You're reading FLSA stuff versus.
No, I'm reading, Mr. Dare, I'm reading your contract.
Right, and it includes it all. It says in that contract about.
You know where it is?
Continuation of shift.
You know where it
It should be in the part with the
Okay,
159
can I show you something else in your contract that gives your chief the opportunity if he needs to shift hours? Is that not in the
Yeah,
contract?
it is.
Okay. So did we breach the contract?
Yes.
So do you want us to breach the contract?
No.
Okay. That's my point. It's not the money.
Right.
I think the way
understand.
the grievance is written, that you're asking this board to breach your own contract. And I
Well,
don't
I'm-
think you want to do that.
Well, what I'm asking.
Mr.
them is to
Baker, are
do-
you aware of what he's talking about?
Well, I am. One or two things can be done. If he chooses to do so, he can amend it here and now. That's one possibility.
Yeah.
With the fire chief's permission, because he considered it to meet the technical verbiage, I think, that Mr. Full is referring to. Does that make sense to you? You're not talking about, or vice versa, I'm not
Right.
sure which.
Right.
It's a language thing here, I think. But it can be amended, like about anything can.
The grievance would be amended? is that
Sure.
what you're saying?
We have all the parties here.
Okay.
But by agreeing to do this, are we setting a precedent?
No.
It's always been paid that way anyways, Mike, so it wouldn't, it's always been past practice. That's how we get paid overtime.
If it's
During
over
that-
159 hours.
During that, our schedule's laid out that way. Anything worked above our scheduled hours is overtime. You know, let alone that those guys, you know, we're getting ready to get off work at 7 o'clock and we're told, you're staying, you don't have a choice. You know, like I said, that would be like me telling you guys, you know, that you guys have to stay here till 1:30 tomorrow, but I'm not paying you anything else.
But they did get paid for the day.
They didn't get paid anything. They were forced to take the next day off, which is actually, wouldn't even be considered comp time because they were forced to take off, you know, which we also don't have comp time in our contract either. So it ain't like they were given the day and said, here, you can take another day off. And the reason that he had to do that was because if he'd done that, it would have violated the federal law of our 21-day FLSA period.
Mr. Fire Chief, can you stand up, please?
I think that's what-
Are you gonna have to do this in the future?
Not unless we're in a financial emergency. Under the financial emergency, that's what, when you talk to the Department of Labor, you're only allowed to move the guys when you're under a financial
Well,
emergency.
we're under a financial emergency. We have been since March the 2nd, 2014.
When you're under a financial, if we're not gonna use the part-time, and the financial emergency continues and gets worse, we are allowed to move the guys in the 21-day period. What Scott's referring to is, these guys wasn't allotted to choose what day they were taken off. I forced them to work that day and then forced them to take the day that was available to them to work. Sometimes it was the next duty day, sometimes it was 2 duty days from them, whatever day it worked out in the 21-day period to keep a station open. It wasn't like they chose.
But was that in violation of the contract, what you've done by doing that?
And when I called the Department of Labor, I made three phone calls to the Department of Labor. I made sure I followed the FLSA, which is Fair Labor Standards Act. I made sure I followed it to a T. They informed me, do you have a labor agreement? And I said, yes, I have a labor agreement. And I read them the financial emergency. I made sure I followed it. But also I told them if I got into problems and broke the labor agreement, that we did have a grievance procedure. I read the grievance procedure to them.
Troy, could I share something with you here?
Yes, sir.
And again, gentlemen, this is your contract. I didn't make it, I didn't sit on the ratification of it. But when you go back to Article 5, under Management Rights and Responsibilities, under Article 5.4, it says the chief shall determine methods and means and employees necessary for department operations. In paragraph 5, it says to control department budgets. Chapter 6, it says to take whatever actions are necessary and employees in order to assume proper functioning. That's your contract.
I think I can help clarify this. The 159 and 168 helps compliance with halftime because you're already working. So it's halftime pay over those hours. The time and a half language affords the employee overtime at a rate of a time and a half outside of his shift, regardless if he hits 159 hours or not. That's
Where is
why
that
it's
at? Where's that at,
complicated.
Jim?
It's in the same article. It says, if the overtime work is a continuation of shift time being served, they shall be repaid 1 1/2 times their
Where you
hourly
at?
rate.
Where you
Where's
at?
your article at?
15.3.
Okay.
And
Or-
you know, help me.
15, hang
I was
on.
with negotiations during this contract, not this contract, but times before, when it was written. That is so, because see, guys, even though when they weren't there, if they were on an overtime list and got called in, they would still be paid at the rate of time and a half for the continuation of shift.
Read-
Therefore,
Read that top line.
that's to
Read
satisfy
the top line.
each firefighter working between 159 and 168 hours in the 21-day work period will be paid at a rate of halftime,
Okay.
over the hourly rate.
Okay.
So see, they're already working. So anytime you work past that,
But did that create 159 hours over your 21 workday?
I see his point now.
Did that create more hours than 159 over your 21-hour or 21-day work period?
If
Are
it
you talking
didn't,
about
if it didn't, you're not entitled to this pay.
no, that's not true.
Oh, I'm
It-
sorry, just correct me.
Well, I'm trying to. If you keep on reading,
Okay.
the continuation of the shift.
Okay,
So
that
you're
says you-
confusing halftime, it's language, like John said, it's verbiage. When you get down here,
Well,
it was afforded them that time and a half for the inconvenience of working outside their shift. And plus, it doesn't
Okay.
break the Fair Labor Standards.
Now, it might be verbiage, that's fine, I'll give you that. But we still have the contract, and that's all I've got to go on. We
Right.
can't change goalposts here.
I don't
Each
think so.
firefighter working overtime will be paid 1.5 times the hourly rate if the overtimes, and they're twice, work as a continuation of shift time. Now, you just, back in the first part of that, we defined what overtime was. Now, it might be verbiage, and if this board, if you guys decide to change it, that's fine, but we have to, you're asking us, the way I read this contract, to breach your own contract, and I don't think you want to do that.
What part's breaching it? What's the
Well,
part
I
that's breaching
think
it?
that was put in
Overtime.
there. I negotiated 2 or 3 of these.
You mean the way the
contracts.
grievance is written for overtime and you're gonna pay straight time, is that what you're saying?
The reason that was in there is because if we had a fire at 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock, and the firefighter had to stay over, that was to cover that time that he had to stay over to finish up the fire or whatever he was doing. That's why that was put in the contract. It was never meant to be to cover the whole shift, the next shift, because I always thought a firefighter could work 2 shifts as long as he hadn't worked his 159 hours in a 21-day period. And when you go back to the contract, it does say that under him scheduling.
Well, it's not an either or, it's a both and. That's how that article is written in the intent. And if you look at it, the halftime over the hours explains it. Yes, he wasn't, I'm saying, when you work outside of your 24-hour shift, you're owed time and a half because you work outside of your scheduled shift, regardless of FLSA. Because in between vacation and you get called for overtime, you still got paid a time and a half, regardless if you met 159 hours or not. That's what was negotiated to be paid because a guy would have to come in and work when he's not scheduled to work.
But you're working your vacation time. Is that what you said?
No, you're already on vacation. That's not your duty
So-
day.
No,
Anything
no.
outside of your duty day.
Well, I
was
think what
owed.
Ronnie's saying, he was called to work a full shift, not a
Yeah.
portion of a shift.
Yeah.
And the contract says you can do that.
The contract gives the chief pretty much, and again, it's not my contract, guys, it's your contract.
The contract also says 7 million, and we're just fighting for the 6.
Well,
He done this to keep us.
let's stay with the grievances.
Right,
Let's
yeah.
stay with the grievances.
Okay, but we keep talking about contract. There's-
Let's stay with the grievances.
Just talking about the language.
Right, I'm trying to help.
Is work week defined in here?
Let's
Yeah.
stay with the
56
grievance. The
hours.
grievance says for men work overtime.
But the overtime was never meant, at time and a half, when a guy was called in to fill a spot, was never meant to fulfill FLSA. It never was. FLSA is a benefit to the employer, that they don't have to pay overtime after 40 hours a week. That's why we work that work period.
Again, it's not money.
Oh, I realize that.
I realize
Section
that.
13.2,
I really
Ron.
feel like,
section 13.2.
Okay.
A work week for the Connersville Fire Department shall not be more than 56 hours.
okay,
There will be 24 hours on duty and 48 hours off duty.
okay, now what do you want to do with the responsibility of the chief? Because he's got the right to do what he wants to, according to the contract.
Within the contract.
Either he does or he doesn't.
Okay,
Well,
Let's-
he
let's-
has the right
let's-
to make a transfer on an emergency basis
Okay.
only,
Okay.
you know, and that's,
I think we understand the issue. We
Right.
got a motion on the floor. Anything else the Board of Works wants to ask? Sure, this is
Back to the amount is $2,182.92.
$2,182.92.
Okay.
Okay, this is grievance for practical purposes. Can we call it grievance 1? Okay? We'll take one at a time. Now, I heard both sides of this story. Every story and 2 stories to every side. We can settle this grievance here today and pay the $2,182.92. It worries me a little bit what we're going to do down in the future. We can deny the grievance and go to arbitration, and then an independent individual will come in here and interpret the contract, interpret what we're doing, and tell us what we need to do. So you can do one of those two things. So at this point, unless there's further discussion, I'm gonna call for the vote. Okay, have a roll call vote.
Jane Oakley,
Yes.
Fran Schomel,
I'm torn between having somebody settle it for us, and I'm gonna vote no.
Leonard Urban,
No.
Mike Bishop,
May I ask a question? Where does this put us legally bound, Mr. Baker?
I suspect we'll go to mediation.
It'll go
Or arbitration.
Arbitration?
Yeah. Well, assuming if the vote goes as it appears to be going, if you deny the grievance.
So if I deny it, we have to rescind the nomination to approve it, correct?
No, you either vote yes or no. If you vote no, the grievance is no, and we go to arbitration.
I see. No.
We still have another vote on the other end.
Ron Coldiron,
On the basis of the wording of the grievance, I will vote no.
That's mine. Consensus.
4-1. No, that grievance is taken care of. We can take that to arbitration.
Okay,
Okay.
moving on to the second one, or the only other one we have left, the clothing allowance.
I did. Julie and
You still have
I,
copies of all those in front of you?
you asked
Yes.
at the meeting that we figure out, and I'll pass these out for Board of Works first. When we put this emergency into place, March the 2nd, we asked everybody to,
You have another one you're already-
yes, I did.
John, thank you.
We asked everybody to take hold of it and save money. You told us when we met,
Scott Lawrence.
and you see, I'll give Scott one, I'm sorry. When we met, that you wanted to know who had given up what. So I'm gonna tell you today,
I didn't ask that.
Other
Mr.
board
Coldiron
members asked
was
that.
wanting
Okay.
those numbers.
in the mayor's office, and I'm not gonna use the word saved, I cut my budget in 14,
Right.
8%. The clerk treasurer had a 4% increase, and the explanation is she had a lady in her office that went from a single premium insurance to a family plan. She had no choice, and that's the only addition there was there. Legal department dropped 20%. City Hall dropped 40%. Council budget dropped 20%. First aid budget's up 12%. Why is that? We had to hire people so we could have 4 on a shift, and we had to buy the new chassis for the ambulance. Did you find anything else? You were looking at that this morning.
That's pretty much it.
That's accurate, okay. Police department dropped, they were the people that dropped the most. They dropped 14.5% of their budget. Cut their budget, $425,459.39. Fire department cut their budget 11.5%. Cut their budget $317,694.65. DOT cut their budget 11%, $73,843.70. Landfill cut their budget 3%, $17,549.31. The average would be 9.50 if you take them all. And I didn't have time, but if you would take each budget, because of the size of it, when you look at it, it's pretty much straight across the board, fair to everybody, with the exception of the clerk treasurer, which she had no choice. I mean, it's pretty hard to cut someplace in there.
Well, that's fine, that's,
So everybody,
I came to you with our savings.
but here's the deal. Everybody saved, not saved, I don't want to use that word because you didn't save it.
we cut.
We cut expenses.
Exactly.
$898,582.38. And we're projecting in May, we'll have about $321,000 in the bank. Now, you can see, if we
We're ahead of the game.
If we wouldn't have done this,
Exactly.
you can see where we'd be
I'm
today.
not disputing that.
Okay.
What I'm here for was, and that's, our numbers look close, I was guessing between $350,000 was what we spent less than the year before. Due to the cuts we made, the manpower issues, not paying overtime. So therefore, and that's, whatever all the other departments say, that's great, but that's, that wasn't my concern.
Well, after she showed me
We felt
this-
like, and she did, and Julie come to the meeting and presented numbers. And it looked to me like, we're a little bit ahead of the game where we thought we were gonna be. And I don't think that any department has the intentions of stopping the measures they've taken to save money. All I was asking for, and all my guys are asking for, is that we cut $300 and some thousand last year versus the year before, that we should be able to get the remainder of our clothing allowance.
I wanted you to see that because I didn't know who asked for it, but someone asked it.
And that's great, I'm glad to see that all the departments cut that much. I think that's great.
I was amazed, and it's, when you look at it, you talked about being fair, it's pretty darn fair. When you look at the size of the budget and the cut.
And that's great.
I have
I think,
I have a $145,000 budget in the mayor's office to cover everything I do and 2 employees, and we were able to cut it 8%.
According to the numbers that we were given early last year, I think we're doing better. I'm not saying that, we're rich, but I think we're doing better. And like I said, I think everybody still has the intentions of operating the same way that they did last year for the most part. So I think the savings are gonna continue to increase throughout the year.
What's the second grievance, clothing allowance?
Yes, that's what we're
Okay,
discussing now.
We wanted to be fair. Police gave up their clothing allowance, everybody gave up their clothing allowance, then we went back and we gave everybody 25%, thinking that would help some, and that's what we did. Okay, now, on the clothing allowance grievance, that's what we're on, nothing else, that's what we're on right now. Discussion.
I have a question. On these percentages that we have just been handed here, are those off of the budget that was given these departments, or did that actually come
Actual
off?
figures,
Those are
actual
money
spending money.
spent, savings over.
From the budget, the only one that had an additional in the budget was in EMS budget, and that was for the chassis.
Because
That was money that they got in
Yeah.
specifically.
The reason I say that, because the fire department give us a very comprehensive sheet month to month of what they spend in 2013 versus 2014 per month, and I commend that. That's exactly what we want. Here we're just getting total, so
She
I
looked
assume
at,
that
she
that's
looked, she
off-
looked at it all.
That's actually off cost and not just budget
It
figures.
is.
Yeah, that's actual comparison from spending from 13 to 14.
Okay. Is that fair?
You all agree everybody shared in the thing almost equally? Yeah.
Well, the only thing I'm having a little trouble with is that number we looked at on the poster in the room was only 400,000. Well, if all these percentages are there too, how come that number is not bigger? How do you
Because
explain
there's
that?
things that
So where did that
happen.
money go?
We are projecting a moving target all the time. This is actual fact.
I think the number that she showed us in the meeting was where she thought we would be in June of this
Yeah,
year, is that
June
correct?
1st of this year.
But what I'm saying is,
Yeah, let me
off
tell
the
you.
I
appropriations,
understand
we
what
can
you're
see the
saying.
spending.
When I called for the emergency, we believed we would be about $350,000 short at the end of the year we wouldn't be able to pay. When you look at the actual figures, we were more like 400 and some thousand. When you look at the actual figures. And so we're gonna have money left over
But
of
according to
about
her
almost
figures, we're gonna be
400,000.
twice that. You were figuring being
We
that
are.
much short, and according to her figures, last year, you had us being broke in April. This year, in June, we're gonna have almost $400,000.
Well, because of this figure right here, this $898,582, but we're only gonna have about $321,000 is all we're gonna have. So our projections were short.
And those,
We were worse off than we thought we were.
those figures, your estimates were based on months last year during our
What we-
cutbacks.
what we spent.
What we were spending month to month during our cutbacks is
Yes.
what your figures were estimated on.
Yes.
These are
Except for
actual.
some things that I know, like the liability, and those things have to be paid.
Right.
There's no.
Right. So like I said before, as long as we continue to operate the way we're operating, those, savings should continue to increase.
That's betting on the come.
Do what?
That's betting on the come, that everything's gonna be hunky-dory and nothing, we're not gonna have no emergencies, no
You
nothing.
get hit with, this man here can tell you, NDOT says you will spend $90,000 on a ADA study to put on the shelf, and you will have it done by the end of the year. Or we'll take away your federal road money. You'll take away our project money. We got no choice, and that happened to us at 13 or 14. What year was that?
We started at 13 and finished at
We paid you the final payment in 14?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Those things come down the road. We don't know what's ahead. And, you know, you don't know if some big item like the fire truck dumped.
Well, and,
We don't know that one of the front end loaders will dump.
well, also, in some of these numbers that you just given me, you know, I don't know, you claim that some departments, you know, took the same cuts we did, and you've claimed that all along, but were they hitting their pockets like all the unions were? That was my big question. You claim that, well, this department lost more than you guys. Well, it's because they lost an employee. Well, you know, we went down from, you know, we were fighting fire with 5 and 6 guys versus fighting fire with 8 guys. So, you know, you weren't comparing apples to apples. And like I told you last year,
Well, the police department
we wouldn't.
was. They're down
Right.
to 25
Well,
guys.
and like I said, when this all first started, the reason that my guys were upset was because we asked for a cut across the board, the same, because all you were doing was wanting money from the unions, and that was it. You wanted to take clothing allowance from the unions, and that was it. And my guys come back, and we tried to get you to sign a memorandum of understanding that we would have agreed to a 3% cut, pay cut, if you would have made it the same for every city employee, not just the union employees, and you refused to do that.
I did, because I was advised that I shouldn't sign any contract during an emergency.
It was not a contract.
Well,
All
I
it
mean,
was
any
was,
memorandum
it
of
was a,
understanding.
right.
And you must remember
Which
that
would have been-
we
which
didn't-
would have
we
been
didn't break
fair
your- We didn't
across the
break
board.
your fire thing down to 317. Part of that's gas.
Right,
Part
and I
of it's
understand.
clothing, part of
But
it's
when I tried,
labor.
when I tried to come to you for the fairness aspect of it, you knew that the unions were the ones taking a hit in the pocket. But you know, in the office, they lost a person, or this, they lost a person here, and that's fine and dandy. But, you know, in a normal household, if they're going broke, then everybody takes a cut. You know, and that's what my guys had issue with. And we even had a meeting with you and a couple council members that seemed pretty receptive to the idea that, yeah, that's great. Let's go in and, you know, we'll just, you know, say 3% across the board. And, you know, there was, you know, you refused to do that.
It's very, very difficult to lower everybody's wages 3%.
From what we come out of that meeting, it was pretty doable. And we wouldn't even be here today. But, you know, now that I've seen the reduction in costs compared from, you know, this year to the year before, you know, there's no reason, and the clothing allowance is minimal compared to, you know, the numbers that we've been presented for this next year. So,
Well, that's what the issue at hand. I just did this to show if it was fair or not.
right, well, but it's
And
not,
you know, you can go in here and break this down and say, where did this come from? Where did that come from? And I'll give you an example. Julie's going to lose a girl in the office in August, and she intends to suck up and take it. That means
that's great.
two other.
You know, I
oh,
think
wait a
every
minute.
department's done that.
But that means that.
Nothing.
Wait, no, wait.
against you,
Let me
Julie.
talk. These 2 girls have got to pick that up and do it. They may have to stay till 5 o'clock. They may have to come in on Saturday. They ain't gonna get no extra pay. Okay, you just took a grievance to us that you wanted extra pay. You got paid for the shift.
I don't want extra. We want what's coming to us in the contract that you signed and negotiated by yourself.
I would just like to add, this budget for 2015, did the clothing allowance that was put back in there the same for 2014, was it voted through
Yes.
by this board?
We don't.
Not yet.
They don't vote on budgets.
So just council. What about on salary ordinance?
They don't vote on salary ordinance. They
All
just
Council, all
council.
council.
You just vote on the spending of it? Where it goes?
And I will have to admit, I wanted to take it out of the budgets, and the mayor said we couldn't do it because it was a contractual obligation.
Why,
so-
why would I deliberately break the contract? I don't want to, I only break the contract when I'm forced
You
to.
know,
break the contract.
and none of us, we're not going to deny that when we met about it, we said, you know, if we have to help out, we have to help out fine. But we wanted it to be fair across the board.
And-
And my guys were fine with that.
And
And we
I'm
tried,
I'm showing that it's
and we
pretty
tried to
fair.
do that, but that's not. You know, that's just a department savings. That has nothing to do with the individual. Some individuals are getting hit, some aren't. You know, all I came here today was basically to say that my guys worked hard to cut back and fight fire dangerously to save money because there was no overtime. And the least you guys could do is pay the rest of our clothing allowance, which is minimal compared to the projections
And
we're
my
showing.
answer to you was if I pay your clothing allowance, I have to pay everybody's.
Well, and you know, according to these numbers, you know, I'm glad to see some of the other union reps here. If I was them, I would be, you know, they worked hard saving money too.
I'm in kind of a dilemma right now. The police contract was due the end of the year. We don't have a contract with the police today, although we're honoring the old contract. And I'd be a hypocrite to sign that contract knowing we can't live up to it. Yet, I want to sign that contract because we need to have something to live by.
Yeah, well,
So-
but you will be living up to it if you agree just to pay this clothing allowance, which you
I'm
can.
talking about the police contract. There's things in there that they've agreed not to take to help us out, to the tune of almost $500,000.
Well, and I think everybody would agree to that. You know, we tried to agree to that 8 months ago.
Well, I think we have an issue at hand here, and the issue is what we'll call grievance number 2, clothing allowance. I will remind you that I think it's only fair if you do pay the clothing allowance to firemen. I think then we should pay the clothing allowance to everybody else that gets one in lieu of looking at this. But that's up to you. Could I have a motion one way or the other, or are you not ready for that?
Mayor, I'd like to say, we're looking at the grievance, it's kind of hard for us to say, I think that's another issue, whether we're going to pay everybody or not, where I think what we're dealing with is the grievance of whether we will pay the fire department or not.
Yeah.
If the others come and ask, then I guess that's up to them. But we are looking at a grievance and not whether we're going to pay the full clothing allowance across
Well,
the board.
I see it a little bit different. The emergency falls across the board. I've taken it away from everybody by an executive order. I think that if the executive order is going to be violated for one group, or I think then I have to be fair and give it to everybody. I just feel that way. I think there's some private things in the police department that I took away that are just, you know, it's a totally different department. They have secret things they use, and I can't talk about them here. And I took those things away, and I have to give those things back. I just feel like I do. Either we're under a financial emergency or we're not.
Well, and that's why I think the only right thing here to do is something that you voted and signed and you can afford. I think the only right thing to do is to pay it, especially when the department's worked hard to try to save that money.
Well, are you ready? Discussion.
May
You
I
don't
ask
have
a
a motion.
question? May I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
I don't want to start a fight here, but I just want to ask a question, okay? Because we keep referring to the way it's always been done, the way it's always been done. How many people do you have in the fire department total?
We have 25 plus the chief.
25. And how many of those people are battalion chiefs and above? I mean, like supervisor and above?
3 battalion chiefs.
And then 3 battalion chiefs, and then you have Troy, correct?
3 captains, 3 battalion chiefs.
Okay.
And,
So why do the guys below that, and just stay with me, why do they need uniforms? You're provided uniforms when you go fight the fires, correct? So why do you need uniforms if you're not a captain, battalion, or leader, or you're not a supervisor?
You're getting at what? You shouldn't, the
Why do
city
you
shouldn't
need
pay for
them? Why do you
uniforms?
need them? I'm just asking, why do you need them?
We have a dress code that we have to follow.
Right, and the SOPs are, you know, we
I think
have
he's
to.
talking turnout gear, Scott.
No, he said clothing, he didn't say to fight fire with.
No, I'm talking, yeah, I'm just talking about normal,
Are
everyday.
you basically getting at why do we get so much clothing allowance? Is that where you're
No,
going?
I'm asking you, why do they need clothing allowance below the battalion leaders or below this,
Because we
below
have a
management?
dress code and a uniform, a work uniform, just like most places.
Talking about identification like you have one now.
Right, you know, which, right.
Are you
I'm
working
not in
today?
No,
No.
well, I am, but I got a standby.
You
So
are,
I could
but you're
come
on
down.
standby.
Mhm.
What's that mean?
I traded time,
Somebody come in.
which is in the contract.
Okay.
what is the standard uniform?
Work pants.
We've got 3 different
yeah, there's
types. This is
several.
I mean, how much does one standard uniform cost?
I don't know that off the top of my head.
You got
You know,
Class A,
we,
Class
you
B.
go through clothes all year long, you know, you get, you fight fire, you get stuff dirty,
Yeah, I'm trying to-
you get stuff torn up. I think we're kind of getting off the subject a little bit.
No,
We're
I just
changing
asked a
goalposts,
question.
it sounds like, and I think, well, the words are wrong, hold on, we need to stick with the grievance instead of wandering off on what it's for and everything.
I just
Well, it's
asked a
clothing
question.
allowance grievance, so he has a
I
right to ask
understand,
that
I
question.
understand.
It's more of a contractual obligation. You get tripped up on clothing allowance. Hardly anybody was here, I know nobody was here when that term was negotiated for. It's been added to over the years in lieu of raises that we haven't taken in the last 8 years to our base pay. And it's been built up because the city over time had wanted to give us something, but not a base pay raise. So they'd say, hey, we'll tack it on your clothing allowance.
Okay.
But then when that gets up there, everybody's like, look at this clothing allowance. It's absurd. Nobody needs that much money for clothing. It was never intended for that. You know, the state statute provides for that, what they deem is acceptable clothing allowance. Where that contract got built up that everybody voted for, on both council and this board, was set in lieu of raises years ago, and it's been built up. And then it's easy to target that as it's a lot of money for clothing, when really, in
It
truth,
stands out.
it's not for
You can answer my
clothing
question.
per se.
That's fine.
Well, it was always easier to just give an extra couple $100 added to your clothing allowance than to give someone a raise. And it actually did save the city money
A lot.
several
That's
years
the
ago.
thing, that's the thing we gotta face coming down the road. Just because it's always been easier, it's not gonna get any easier. Now, you can argue that point till the cows come home, but financially, it's not gonna get any easier for this city. So I just wanted to answer that, that's all I needed.
And you
I
know,
saw it
those-
getting better. I don't know. I mean, with the numbers that Julie showed, I tend to try to stay positive,
We are, but when you're looking at a forecasting number that's looking into the crystal ball and you have no solid figures in there,
We got
you're
less
dancing with
taxes in
death.
2011 than we did
You're
this year,
still,
Mike.
you're
I
dancing
mean,
with death when you talk about money,
well, I'm
because
not
we never
trying,
know.
hey, I'm not trying to drain anything. All
I
I'm saying here,
understand.
and
No, I'm
all
not
I
trying to-
came
I'm
here-
not insinuating
all
that,
I came
Scott.
here for was that my guys worked hard to fight fire dangerously with not very much manpower, because we couldn't pay overtime out, and the least you could do is pay the rest of our clothing allowance, which doesn't amount to much.
I'm done there. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Have you ever spent $1,150 on clothing in 1 year?
I've spent quite a bit. I don't, I go buy things
Would
here
you
and there
fellows be
all year long.
acceptable to this amount of money being reserved for you in the clerk treasurer's office? When you buy something, you bring the receipt in and we reimburse?
If that's what
Well,
we negotiated in
That
the
can be,
contract
if that's
time.
negotiated during the next negotiations, that would be fine.
Would you be
But
willing to
According
do
to the
that?
contract, I can't say that for my guys. That's something my guys would have to discuss and
They
vote on.
ratified and voted.
Yeah, which our contract will be up, here in a couple of years.
Well,
So, if that's negotiated and voted on, then,
I don't think it should have been negotiated. I think you guys should agree to it.
well, I can't sit here and agree to anything.
You didn't answer my question. I'm ready for votes. You're on.
You want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we deny this clothing allowance.
Grievance two is what we're calling it.
Grievance.
What's
I'm gonna get back to my agenda.
I'll second.
Got a second from Jane. Got a motion and a second. You guys sit down if you want to.
I would like to say one other thing.
Okay.
We're asking for a minimal amount, just of our clothing allowance versus the cuts that we took all year long. And for this to continue on this process and go to court, it's gonna cost both sides a lot of money, when this could be solved very easily right here.
Are you
All
asking,
all I'm asking is that you guys do the right thing
I misunderstood you now. Are you asking for the total up to 1150 or whatever it is?
for what's owed to
Because you
us.
just said the very minimal.
Yeah, I said it's a minimal amount.
Okay. You're
Compare-
asking to make up the difference between
Which is
three,
what the-
whatever it
which
was.
is what the
to 11.
grievance is
What is that
written.
about, Julie?
It'll come to a total of like,
Was it less than 20,000?
it was less than $20,000 compared to the forecast, that we're close to $400,000 ahead of the game.
Okay. We got a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
And what is the motion for?
Motion is to deny.
To
the
deny?
grievance. A yes vote denies the grievance, a no vote accepts the grievance. Just the opposite of what you think. So if you vote yes, you're denying the grievance. Okay. Everybody in? No problem? Roll call.
Jane Oakley,
Yes.
Fran Schomel,
Yes.
Leonard Urban,
Yes.
Mike Bishop,
Yes.
Ron Coldiron,
No, again, on the basis of their contract and what I've seen that they have saved the city, not anything else from that. I vote no.
So where are we at?
Thank you.
I would be a hypocrite to put a financial emergency in and then go back and give part of it back. We put the financial emergency in and we said there'll be no overtime and no clothing allowance. Those are the only two things we said, and we would cut our fuel consumption and all the other expenses that we could possibly cut. If I voted to do that, I still feel like it had to be given everybody back. I discussed with the city council and the board of works to override me and eliminate the emergency. They choose not to do that. I can't sit here and allow the city to go broke or even get close to it while I'm in this position. I wish I could, because I know and Julie knows that we can make it through this year and we'll be out of here. But it is not fair to those people that are coming on to leave it in that condition, or it's not fair to the taxpayer. So I have to stick with where I am and say these two things must be followed in order for us to save enough money to get through the next year in 2015.
I just want to clarify once again, the amount of clothing allowance that we were asking for, if you had paid that, we are still way ahead of where we thought we were going to be. That's the only reason we were asking for it, is because you could afford it.
Okay, now that the vote is over, I'll tell you what.
Well, that's fine, but you're giving an explanation, and I want to give one too.
But here's the
Because I don't
deal.
want this to look like, the firefighters are out trying to break the city, because I have a feeling that's where this is going.
It's 20,000 for you, but if we give it to everybody, it's 80.
My grievance concerned my guys, no one else.
But see, I have to represent
And that's
everybody.
fine, and that's fine. We're not up here to break the city by any means. Like I said, we took cuts last year, We fought fire with 5 guys, which is dangerous, very dangerous. All I'm asking for, or all I was asking for, was that we saved this much or cut this much. We just wanted this much that was owed to us, that was voted on unanimously in the contract. That's all I was asking for. So I just want to clarify that before this starts to get into firefighters trying to break the city, because that's not what was intended. Matter of fact, 8 months ago, we tried to do a fair across the board, and that was voted no on.
And you haven't gotten much resistance from us as far as we've worked with this.
Our
contract says 7, we've worked with 6, we try to save, and then we don't get our clothing allowance.
So I just
Now we're getting forced in and don't get paid. Now you're still asking us to try to keep the city afloat, and that's hard to do.
I just want to make sure that this.
I thought we agreed to pay those guys today, didn't we not?
no, we voted no.
Yeah, you voted no. So now you're asking us to work for nothing.
Well,
We're
this
below our
the
contract.
issues are closed. It's
Right, but I just want to clarify, that, we're not up here asking for something while the city's still broke. We've gained, and we were just asking for what was the small part that was owed to us. So I just want to clarify that.
And it's not just 20,000 with me, it's 80,000 or 90, whatever she's got down for.
95,000 would be a clothing allowance for 2015, yes, I added up from the budget, yes.
And that's why I voted no. If it was just the 20,000, yeah, you're right. But it's,
So, is that your intention?
they will not pay the clothing allowance as long as the emergency exists, is the way I
And does
get
that
it.
have to be voted on again? The financial emergency?
Not unless they choose to.
It had no expiration date.
If they choose to,
Emergency.
they can.
Where, I got another question. What goal do you have in mind of where you think you need to be to let the financial emergency go?
And she tells me we got plenty of money to make it, and the city council and everybody else feels
I mean,
comfortable.
there has to be there has to be some level to where you think,
They could do it at the meeting tonight. They can say, we feel like we're gonna lift the financial emergency, and it's done. The executive order of the executive is only good as long as the council agrees.
well, the only reason I'm asking is because, like I said, you know, the estimates that we had last May versus the estimates that we got this May, we've done really well. So as far as trying to cut back and make some of that up. So,
As long, you know, when the
you know, last
council,
year, yeah, it was, you know, we were slapped with this in March with the financial emergency, and everybody said, oh no, what do we do now? You know, and everyone worked real hard. Well, now the estimates that we're getting for this June look a lot better than that. So that's why I'm wondering, where's your level of thinking to where we need to be before that? You know, and I'm not saying that we need to go back and run everything the way it used to be ran, you know.
$321,000 at the end of May is not a pretty picture for a city that spends about $600,000 a month. You
I
think,
understand that.
does anybody here think that's a good
It doesn't
picture?
even cover a month of.
And that's, that's why I was asking, you know, where do you think we need to be? You know, I mean, I look at these numbers, and Julie's been very good at giving me numbers when I ask for them. I'm just kind of curious. You know.
Julie wasn't our draw, what we normally get, wasn't that cut in half?
This year?
Yeah, apparently, it wasn't.
From last year or
Yeah.
from, no,
From
like 2010?
yeah.
I
It's
think.
diminished down.
But it's-
2010.
It's went up and down,
It's-
actually. 2011, we
It's leveled
was
off over the
less
last,
than the last 2 years.
We got
or a little bit more.
2.1, didn't we?
this draw.
Yeah.
The assessed value of the county is what drives the tax. Okay,
I understand.
the assessed value of this county went up. All excited? You know why it went up? Any of you that's farmers in here know why it went up. Because they laid it to the farmer at 16% of the land value. That's exactly what they did.
Well, I understand that.
But the city gets no money out of that 16%. Zero. Now, we got windmills coming in, maybe, okay? $282,000 a year. City gets no part of that money, zero. Okay. There's $600,000 in edit money. In the old days, we would get about half of that. Really, we're entitled to 60% because we have the largest population in the county.
So you don't know where you need to be
Their budget
to raise
is,
the.
they're using their money, they're using our money to pay all the
I
utilities.
understand all that, Larry.
So-
I know, I understand.
so here-
I'm just trying to get an idea.
I would like
where
to
you
say,
think-
if we had $1 million in June to where you had 2 months' worth of operations, in
And that just- it'll give us-
utilities, what do they make us have?
Cover our bonds. Is it
What do
3
they make us
months?
have? Twice the? 2 times?
Well, that just gives me an idea.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question too? I mean, you said you wouldn't want to not put something in the budget next year to violate the contract on purpose, but yet this, and I don't know how the city council voted on it. There's only 2 members from the city council, being you and Fran, that voted on next year's budget. And that clothing allowance is a so-called thing that's going to put us in a financial emergency. So it seems like on the one hand, you'll vote for a budget that'll put us in a financial emergency, but you won't pay a contractual obligation, or you won't budget it because you don't want to break the contract.
See, the contract was passed before the financial emergency. This contract we're talking about with the police department is after the fact.
Well,
Here
what I'm
I'm telling you
saying is-
one thing, and I'm gonna go do this. And by the way, I didn't vote on the contract. Neither
But
did
you
Mr.
negotiated it.
Mr. Baker and I
Talking about ours.
negotiated the contract because we couldn't get any other city council.
No, I'm not talking about police
Mr. Schoenwald
contract.
told me he voted no on the contract.
You're not listening. I mean, the budget for the fire department, the clothing allowance is still in there.
Right.
And, because you said, well, I wouldn't want to break it on purpose, but yet, that.
Why vote for it if you know you're not gonna pay it the next year?
That's what I'm saying. This contract was voted on, which I didn't vote on it, was voted on before the financial emergency. I thought,
Well, if you weren't gonna pay it, why didn't you take it out of the budget? That's,
If
Because
tonight the
the-
city council votes to lift the financial emergency, wouldn't you want that in the budget that, hey, it's in there, we can get paid?
What's already voted on.
No, they can rescind it at any time. If there's 2 to 3 months of reserve, city council says, okay, we're out of financial emergency. And then it's suddenly not in the budget because we took it out because we weren't gonna pay it.
well.
that wouldn't be
that's-
right.
It doesn't change the contract, so
Right.
maybe just appropriate it. Right?
Our budget this year is what, 12.6?
No, it's 3 point. 13.
Anyway, it's $1 million a month, fellows, is what we're spending here on the town.
13,100,000.
We've got a budget of a little over 12 million. I mean, it's easy to figure out. That's $1 million a month, isn't it? Okay, and we're in the hundreds of thousands of dollars?
Yeah, but
Isn't
we
that
have,
scary?
we have
Scares
monthly
me.
income though also, that's not.
I'm sorry?
I said we have monthly income too.
Well,
Well, that doesn't, the budget is what we expect to spend.
I
That
understand
doesn't-
it. I'm talking about versus.
Well, that's all money.
Right.
The 13.1 is all money.
Right. Okay,
Thanks for your time.
thank you.
Gee. Okay. I want to go to department matters. Who wants to go first? Troy, did you have anything?
I don't think so.
First aid? That's a question. I don't know where David Job is. Anybody know? Okay. David, did you have anything?
David, what's the TASER, where are the TASER programs for the police department? Where's it at?
They've been ordered?
Okay. And you have an expected time for delivery?
No, I don't. I look for them to come soon.
While we're tackling difficult issues, let me try to give this issue to you. In 2008, we purchased a van. Economic Development gave us $5,000. I took $4,995 of promotion fund, and we bought that Mercury van, and we put it at the airport. So when people flew in, they could use that van, or we could load them in that van and show them property and do whatever we had to do. Pete Bell and I were doing economic development because we didn't have a director. We met a multi-million-dollar plane one night. He's laughing back there. He must have been there that day. And we took an old police car. The seats were tore and it didn't stay in gear and windows were cracked. That's what they kept at the airport, just get the town in. And so we took that. Well, we knew that was not going to influence anybody. Nobody's going to move to Connersville when they see we pick people up in that. So we bought this van. We got a heck of a deal on it. It was 4 years old. And we've kept it at the airport. And the airport has used it to haul people around. I've used it to haul people around. They come in to look at different places. And since Dan got to be the economic development director, he's got to use that van. And the airport board now has decided that they thought they would like to buy the van out. Well, after research with Julie, and the airport didn't put any money in the van out of the airport budget. The money came from the city and from EDG. Airport board wants to have the thing appraised and let somebody buy it out. You know, and now it's 8 years old. How many miles on it?
43,000.
No, it's like 10 or 11 years old.
It's a 2004.
I was gonna say what year.
And this is 14, it's 10 years old. Yeah, okay. What do you want to do? Do you want me to keep the van at the airport? Do you want to try to have it appraised and pay a bit economic development out? What would you like to do?
Could I speak, Mayor?
Yeah, come on up and speak, yeah.
I can tell you what I'd like for you to do. I think that the vision that the mayor had, and along with Pete Bell, when the van was purchased, was a good one. And that its designated purpose was to help move economic development, to use it for economic development purposes, and also to use it for some airport purposes, which has been done. My opinion, my feeling, is that it's not broke. It doesn't need to be fixed. Let it continue like it is. I think for the airport board to ask to buy it out for them would be the equivalent of the airport board asking to buy half of a police car out. To me, unless I've got a mental block here, we both have use of it. It sets about 85% of the time. I think the airport people use it about 7.5% of the time, and I use it 7.5% of the time for economic development reasons. My request and my plea to this group would be to just keep it the way it is. Let us continue on the way the mayor had intended it when they made the purchase.
And the point is, Mayor, that the airport's wanting to buy it, is that what you said?
They don't want us taking it away from the airport.
Was there an intent to take it away from the airport, voiced at any
They
point?
want it used exclusively for airport
No.
business.
Who-
And we bought it, right?
Well,
City
we bought,
Half of it.
EDG bought
We
half.
paid $5,000 on it.
EDG bought half and the city bought half, and who's paying the maintenance costs?
It's in the city's
Airport.
name,
Sure,
airport
maintenance.
pays for the
No.
insurance.
In the maintenance.
So the airport's paying insurance and maintenance?
And they're asking for sole possession of the van, correct?
Well, they want it appraised and buy it out at the value that it's appraised for.
Sure.
And then they have exclusive use.
Yeah, they want it up there.
Dan, does the van stay at the airport all the time anyway? When you want it, you go to the airport and pick it up?
When we want, we go to the airport and get
So,
it.
and that's no problem?
Hasn't been.
Okay.
And then when we're done, we return it.
Well, let me tell you the story here.
Is that-
And Dan, I gotta be fair to him. I wanna give it to him. When I was doing it with Pete Bell or Dr. Hodges, it was easier for me to run over to the funeral home and get the Lincoln and take people around town. And that's what I did most times. It saved me having to run to the airport, get the thing out of a cold hangar, be sure it was clean, be sure it had gas in it. I just did that. So I didn't use it very much, hardly at all. You know, I just used my own car. Now that Dan's here, he's the executive director, it's wrong to expect him to use his car, and he doesn't have a funeral home car to go get. So he's been going up there and getting it a whole lot more often. And he uses it to go to Chicago, he uses it to go where we gotta go. So it's been used, it's away from the airport more. Now, I think that's what caused the problem. I probably only used it twice in 2013. And I took a tour of a bunch of people to look at spec buildings, and I used it. And the rest of the time, whenever anybody comes to town, I just go over and get my own car.
How is the maintenance shared on the van?
City does.
City does.
It's a city one, and it'd
City.
still be the cities, even if the airport owned it outright, so that would not change anything?
How about the insurance?
The insurance paid for
Airport
the
pays the
airport.
Has there been particular times when you've had the van at the airport's been put out
Once.
in 6 months, year?
In the last, so I didn't know that it was available to me until, I came on board in March 17th. And I didn't know that I could use it like I have been until September. You can see the usage here, and then I've used it, you can see the usage.
What is their logic, Your Honor, if I may ask, and you may answer this? Why, what's their logic behind wanting to buy it? We're
After
using
6
it
or
too
7
much?
years, I don't know.
Sole use.
They just want sole possession
I
of
guess.
it.
They think it should be there at all times in case a plane comes in.
And the city has to buy another vehicle to use a vehicle. Probably you don't use 25% of the time.
That much.
I don't see EDG budgets anymore, or is it just out of question for EDG to buy some sort of a vehicle?
Well, if you raise up EDG budget, and this is not casting any dispersion on the city. City's in financial emergency, I understand it. We've been downgraded in funding and the edit money down to where we have very small amount coming in now. The city has been very helpful to EDG, even when they haven't been paying the matching fund that the county pays, which we appreciate, because the cities came in other ways and helped us, which has been very beneficial, very helpful. For us to pay any more than we're paying to go out and buy, we wouldn't do it.
Okay.
We would not go out and buy a van solely for these frequency.
Could we rent one? Could we do
Well,
that?
we certainly could. Certainly, that's a possibility.
Are they opposed to paying you mileage or?
Oh, they do, they
personal
will.
use?
If you guys say today, EDG, we're gonna give you your money back, airport, here's your van, you do it the way you want the rest of your life. I used my car up until September and was reimbursed, just like anyone else would be. And that's the alternative to me using my car, which I really don't wanna do. If I keep from it. Especially when I found out the intended use for this thing was airport and
EDG or whatever.
EDG. I mean, I feel like I've been fairly active and fairly aggressive at trying to go after stuff here. I feel like I'm kind of being penalized for working too hard here.
yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the feeling I'm getting. Like I'm getting my hand slapped for
Driving
doing what I've been
vehicle.
hired to do.
Yeah, right.
The van's in good shape, right? I mean, the van.
It's in excellent
yeah.
shape. You'd be hard pressed to go out and find a van this old,
I've
with
been
this
in the
few
van.
miles, which supports the fact that it just doesn't get used up there. I mean, it sets about 80 to 85% of the time.
And we're not going to get near the purchase value out of it if we get it appraised. Nowhere near it.
To replace it.
No.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
If you did it fairly and they appraised it, it's peanuts.
Yeah.
It's peanuts. It's more valuable to EDG for these functions that we've seen here that I've went to than it is for anything else.
Julie, you were at the airport board meeting. Is it there, you think they want it solely left up there? Is that what you think? For their use?
They are paying 100% of the insurance, you're saying?
Yes.
Is that just kind of the way it has to be? There has to be, somebody has to carry the policy?
It's in the city's name. It's titled to the city.
But the city does the maintenance on it, correct?
The airport pays for it.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood you.
The maintenance is minimal. I mean,
That's the reason I asked the question. I'm sorry, that's the reason I asked the
Years, I
question.
know we've never put a new part on it of any kind other than
Yeah.
just oil change.
What they've done to it, but
Well, I guess as it gets older, that could be a possibility. I mean, I don't know.
Why can't they
I
just
think
leave
I-
well
I
enough
think
alone?
that's
Yeah, that's what I think.
I think I'll just leave it alone.
I want you to tell me what you want me to do
I want to keep the van.
here.
I mean, if we're pursuing new business, I don't wanna go after the guy in a pickup truck with a load of goats in the back of it. I want to ride in something decent.
And we don't need to spend money on anything
I think we'll leave it alone.
We're not spending money
All
on
right,
it.
is anyone want to make a motion at that
I'll
point?
make a motion that we leave it as is.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. That's what we'll tell the airport board.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
We didn't ask for bulk.
Okay, did you have anything, Troy? Okay, utilities, I knew you'd take the longest, so we'll put you up.
You'd be shocked if I said I didn't have anything.
I'd be shocked.
Is Mike out of town?
No, he's here. Steve's here to talk about the F project. I guess we'll get that out there.
Last month, we opened up bids for the F project. Brackney was the low bidder for that project. Next step is to go ahead and award that project. We did take a chance to review the bids as they came in. Talked with Brad and Mike a little bit about the project, and they think that it's a good idea to go ahead and award that project to Brackney. If we could get just a motion from the board today to go ahead and award that to Brackney, who was the low bidder.
The
that'll-
amount.
I'm sorry?
The amount?
I don't have their bid amount. Julie, do you
minutes.
have that?
Yeah. It's,
John, did you review that bid for proper,
it's in those minutes.
was it proper?
I'm not,
Regarding
regarding,
the bid on
Right.
the F project that
yeah, everything I've looked at is approved.
Leave anything alone.
It's all a standard.
it's okay then?
Yeah.
$392,885 was Brackney's versus $511,645 from Atlas.
Way to go.
The only hesitation, we had hoped that it would come in a little bit lower than that, but projects are bidding higher now. Things are picking up. There's supposedly some issues with concrete where the prices went up.
Well, I know our PVC cost just went up 7%.
Yeah, we're actually seeing cement cost going up and starting to drive. There was some consideration of rebidding the project, try to find a lower price. We were a little concerned that if we do that at this point, there's certainly a possibility the cost could go up. So we didn't want to run that risk. I think we were pretty comfortable with the cost we had with the contractor that was the low bidder. So again, I think it's prudent to move forward with Brackney at this point, and to do that, we just want a motion from the board to go
How
ahead
much,
and award the project.
How much are we draining with this project compared to what we drain with Grand Avenue?
This project, when we got over there in the middle of the year and started looking at it, was headed towards being about a 700,000.
How much,
We-
700?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
And we,
I was thinking.
What was our
5.
anticipated cost, Brad, you remember?
it was, we were
I
looking
mean,
at.
on this bid here, I guess.
Well, we were hoping it would come in maybe 30 or 40 lower,
Okay, so something maybe over 300,000.
but we only had a couple of bidders.
250,000 probably.
Yeah.
Well, I do know, I can share with you that the economic outlook, everything's increasing big time in 2015. And we're $120,000 difference in bids. And I have to concur with what he just said, that you're probably gonna come in higher if you rebid it at this point in time. Really,
Yeah,
seriously.
that's what we would recommend against
Yeah.
at this point.
Plus, I noticed when I came to this meeting, this morning, gas is on the rebound again.
Yeah.
Going up, yep.
Okay, we've opened the bids properly, we've reviewed them, we had our engineering company review them. They're recommending we take the Brackney bid. Can I have a motion to that effect?
I'll make a motion to accept.
I got one over here.
I'm sorry?
Ron, can I get a second?
Yes.
Got a motion and a second. We accept the Brackney bid on the F project. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we've worked with Brackney in the past, they've done some
They
projects
did
for
the
us.
Third Street project and they were excellent to work with. Let's hope they hold too.
They did a really big project for us in the late 90s, and they did a really good job, so.
Where are they out of?
Did they do the Milton sewer too?
Pardon?
Brookville.
They did,
Brookville.
as a matter of
Yeah.
fact.
Yeah. we
I
worked
thought
with
that
them.
name looked familiar, I couldn't place where it was at. That was in Milton, wasn't it?
They did do that work.
And they were excellent on that, if you remember.
The next thing, I want to talk to you about this.
Oh, is this our
Packet.
insurance packet?
Yes, in your packet, there should have been a copy of that.
Let me give you a little history on that before he tells you. We were approached by this company to be able to offer this type of insurance to our customers for water and sewer line. And I'd received something like that a year or two ago, and it was a private company, it wasn't this. And so I gave that to Brad and Mike, and I said, you guys research that. And that's what they've done, is they've researched it, and they're here with their report today.
Okay. Yeah, I've got those things in the mail from.
Yeah. You gotta watch that, some of that might be a scam.
Yeah, I don't think.
I think I just got one myself last week.
Yeah. Yeah, they're out there floating around.
This one here is a company that's endorsed by the National League of Cities. We got some names of people that aren't too far away that I checked on their references, and they looked pretty good. And I called a guy in Harrison, Ohio, who's the city manager, and he said they had no problems with it. I think you already got one of these right there.
We'll share.
I talked to him, and he said that it had been a benefit to their city. He liked it and would recommend it. That he gave me a report, I don't have the exact numbers, but he said they, in the first 3 years, this company had paid about $80,000 in claims to have repairs done for people, and he had no complaints on the company, so.
And this is the customer's choice. You can either buy it or not buy it, right? All we would do is offer it as, we'd send it out with the bill, and we would offer this service to our water and sewer customers.
If you look at the contract, if somebody took this plan, they could pay $88 to have their sewer insured, basically.
Is that a year?
Yes.
Okay.
They can pay $7.75 a month.
Yeah, I see the
Or
blanket.
$88 all at once. And it's on the first page of, did you guys get this?
No.
Oh,
I thought they did. Service line.
No, we just got.
We just got the contract.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
sorry.
at the back,
Page
at the
five.
last page
Page
is,
5. is where it says it.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I thought you,
It's on the back page.
I thought it was in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, these look different than this one.
So it could cost you up to, $150 or so bucks a year to insure both of those, but on a claim, it says in here somewhere, they'll pay up to $4,000 on a claim to fix somebody's sewer or fix their water line outside their house.
We don't have an amount.
And this is for the public's, we're responsible from our house to the tie-in, to the meter.
To the-
So this
to
is,
the
this is
street.
an insurance for us there. And if they would cover up to $4,000 a year. Ron, as someone in the business, is that?
Most cities have this, and we've
But
ran
if-
into it in our adjoining cities. Richmond has had it for a long time.
Okay, $4,000, is that adequate coverage for
Yeah.
a year?
Yeah, that's pretty decent, yeah.
Pretty good, really.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Take care
Okay.
of about any
Yeah.
problem you've had.
The benefit to the city would be, we would, anybody that signs up for that, we would get $12 a year.
Would this be by choice, whether they wanted it or
This
not?
is voluntary.
It'll
I
save a
didn't get a
lot of
chance to read
heartache
it all.
too, because we go out and people think we should repair it, and then we have to argue with them and
Yeah,
tell them it's their responsibility, and
that's
they
a
don't
problem.
believe it is.
Yeah, they don't.
Believe me, it'll save a lot of heartache.
It'd sure be nice to be able to tell somebody they had options.
Well, what's the cost per month? Is that in here?
$775 for the sewer, and then it would be an additional $575 for water.
Per month?
Your most vulnerable is your sewer, isn't it, Ron?
Yes.
I'm sorry?
Your vulnerable one is the sewer mostly, isn't it?
Most of these old water lines.
The water lines,
Now, they're not going to unstop your sewer. They're talking about the sewer has to be broken out and repaired.
well, they'll unstop it too, right, Mike? Or, right?
It
I
goes
thought
into
they-
more detail. They-
Yeah, there's a little gray area there.
Yeah, I'm not sure on regular maintenance. We were looking at it more for the benefit of if people had to have a replacement or something. I think if you have like a little leak or something, they'll fix that, or,
So that's about $13.50 a month between the two of them, correct?
$775, $575?
I'm sorry, I got.
Yeah, we figured in at about $150 a year, you can cover both your sewer and water.
Just to be honest with you, it's a good service.
I
As long as how much it is.
I think we should offer it to our people. After all, they're making the final decision, but I didn't want to do this without your approval.
And there's no upfront cost to the city, we just
In
have
fact,
the
we make
agreement,
money
so
off
there's,
there's really no
It's-
downside. The guy,
There's no downside.
the city manager over at Harrison, I said, what's the downside? And he said, I can't really think of one.
Yeah.
You know, a city official will basically make an endorsement that this is a good deal.
How is that
We're okay with
administered,
this
Brad?
company.
If I've got a claim, do I call Connersville Utilities?
No,
Or do
we
they
have
have an
none.
800 number?
No, we'll
So
have
that's
nothing to
kind of
do
what I
with it.
want to make clear, that it's actually taken out of the
Separate
office all the way
insurance.
around.
Yeah, we don't have to do anything except just basically endorse that it's a good company, we think they're okay.
I'm sure we'll get calls, but we can have the number there, and this is the number you call for your sewer.
I have a question, and this relates to you and I, because you remember the Sunday that I called and the sewer lid was ready. When you unbolted it, it went sky high. Now, if I have this policy, does that cover from my house to that lid, or does that cover from my house to the road?
It covers, what the city ordinance says is that it's kind of a gray, and we're gonna have to firm that up as we do this. Most
Yeah,
cities.
it's gonna have to get specific.
Yeah.
Most cities, the customers connect is their responsibility all the way out to the main, out in the
Okay,
middle of the street.
okay.
And then they're responsible to fix the street back. Well, we don't really like customers trying to fix the street back, so ours is the curb. If you look in the city ordinance, it's not a very good standard. It kind of shows a picture of the sidewalk and the curb, and it's got an X in the middle. So that makes it a little bit,
Well, it wouldn't be in the situation we just talked about, because from the curb to where that lid was at was probably, what, 25 feet? That we'd have to
well, in
touch
that
it.
case, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a real gray area. I don't
Yeah,
know what the answer
we
to
need
that is.
clarification on that, because
Typically, it's to the curb stop. Typically,
On the
it's from the
water?
residence to the curb stop, yeah.
On the water, we are responsible
Yep.
because we don't want them working in our pit.
so it's outside the pit.
So, yeah, which makes it tough because if there's like water coming up inside, it might be leaking just a little bit out there, but. So typically, inside the pit, if there's a
Okay,
leak.
the
we
question
fix
here
that.
is, do you want me to endorse this program? I'll take a motion.
Or we can have the guy come and make a presentation, I mean, if you feel like that.
I think that'd be a good
I think
idea
that
for
would
the
be a good
public to
idea.
hear from.
Then we can have some questions ready before then, because I think this is ready
Well,
for people.
come.
Will they come and do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
That
think
kind
he
of
offered
money, I
to.
think they would.
Let's
Yes.
do that.
Okay, thank you, Brad.
What else you got, Brandon?
That's it, I think. We were gonna, was there a copy of the MS4 agreement in the,
Yes.
from Westler's in there?
Oh, no.
No.
No,
There was something on the MS for.
It was this agreement.
Well, it's supposed to be talked about, but I think we're gonna bring that next time. Because I don't have it. Is there any questions about anything?
what is the MS4?
That is a stormwater program that we have that helps, it's basically about not polluting the storm drains.
Okay.
We're the policing body that polices the rest of the city employees and departments. We oversee this program, that nobody's putting anything bad down the drains. And it also gets into, they consult with us when a new company wants to move in, make sure they set up everything to be environmentally sound.
You said these people that painted something on the drains in the street, is this part of it?
Basically, yeah,
Okay.
telling people, okay, this goes to the sewage
Right.
plant, not putting oil or.
Yeah.
Anything else besides claims?
Anyway, we've had a contract with Westlers for quite a few years on that. It's not a very, it's not a lot of money. It's like $9,000, I think, we pay them every 2 years. And we don't want to really get away. We've
Seven
got
something, I think.
a kind of continuing
Sure.
thing with them that works pretty
Yeah,
well.
right. Okay,
But
thanks.
we'll bring it next time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other business? Did you have some business you want to take up? Anybody else? You guys got anything? Julie?
Nope.
Claims.
Claims, utilities, I have a couple questions before I start. On the very first page, I noticed we spent $862.60 on store supplies. Could we get that?
Who's that with?
It's with the water department.
I mean, what's the
HD
company?
Central
supply,
Store.
so it's gonna be
Yeah,
valving
that's
and
like,
so on.
that's gonna be water parts, like,
I understand, but could we get a broken down definition when it's over $500? I'd just like to see that, please. Because we had that's the standing we had before.
what was purchased?
Yes,
Okay.
just very simple. And the other thing I saw we spent, is this $85 each for bomber jackets for you and Mike Bottomley?
I knew you was gonna ask that. They were safety jackets. The
That's
mayor
what
can tell you-
I tried to call Bottomley, but
The
he
mayor
didn't.
can tell you that I lost my safety jacket.
That's no
when we were out
problem.
on the
I don't
back
need
road.
it.
So I got Mike one too when I worked.
That's all right. Utilities, water claims was $112,289.79. Sewer was $151,989.65. Stormwater was $58,329.78, which 41,000 of that is on the Grand Avenue project, for a total of $322,609.22.
Okay, the city claims 140, and the amount was $131,425.76. And Julie, I see the dental claims are listed, but why aren't the health claims listed in our appropriation sheet?
And it comes out of payroll funds. We don't usually list payroll.
Okay. This, of course, does not include the payroll, which estimated at $650,000 to $700,000 a month. And this month, there will be 3
This
paid.
month, yeah, it's gonna be about 700,000 probably.
And on the budget, I was going through the budget, I could find no category for the airport director. Who pays him?
It's under contract.
Oh, okay.
Airport contract.
So it's not in the airport.
It's in his budget, yeah.
Okay, but it's not in
under-
this.
Yeah. If you look in the airport budget,
Yeah, it says airport board members, airport attorney.
he doesn't get paid through payroll. He gets paid under a contractual service. It's airport contract number 364. It's $54,000 a year.
Where's that at? Is that in my book? Is that in this thing?
Should be. It's number 364 under the airport. In the airport budget. Should probably on the second page.
Oh, okay, I see where you're coming from. Okay.
He's not paid through payroll.
Okay.
He's a contractual employee.
That contract is negotiated and passed by the city council or just their?
No, it's just by the airport board. Always has been.
Okay,
They just
thanks.
actually
Yeah, I got
renewed
it.
it.
Okay. I didn't sit in that one
That's
category, and I
exact same.
thought, where's it at?
Or, oh, okay.
Okay.
I didn't see a financial report in there, Brad.
That's next time.
Or you just give it to us once a month?
Mhm.
Okay, that's fine. So all the holidays, it seems like it's been 2 months since we've seen
See, I
it.
didn't ask you that.
I move we accept the claims, including payroll, if they've been submitted this afternoon.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second that we accept utility and city claims today. Any discussion? None appearing on roll call vote.
Jane Oakley?
Yes.
Fran Schomuel?
Yes.
Leonard Urban?
Yes.
Mike Bishop?
Yes.
Ron Coldiron?
Yes.
The claims are paid. Any other business come before this board? Well, thank you all. I know this is not a pleasant board to be on sometimes. It's tough, make tough decisions. And I appreciate you, and every one of you said I could reappoint you for the year of 2015. And I promise you, I won't ask you for 2016.
Thank you.
Bless you.
I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Meeting adjourned.